Howdy y'all. Welcome back to my channel. This is AR Kavli, and this is going to be the first episode of a solo Forbidden Lands playthrough. I have just recently come to Forbidden Lands, maybe last year, and I've not really had a chance to run it as a campaign with other people. But I did run a short solo campaign previously. I find them to be helpful in learning the rules and such. So, that said, I may have to pause a lot to kind of refresh things because Forbidden Lands rules are simple with a couple of parts that you kind of have to kind of keep in mind. But I'm looking forward uh, to using the new solo rules that were put out in the Book of Beasts. Eagerly awaiting my hard copy version, but decided to go ahead and use the PDF to get one started. As I said, the first solo campaign I had already started was pretty easy to run because Forbidden Lands as a rule set and as a setting lends itself well already to solo games. There's charts in the back of the Game Master's Guide, random encounters, your hex crawling, finding random things pretty much already. My first campaign, I rolled up a character using the life path system and got a orc sorcerer, and in his first battle he ended up getting his arm severed and then used his little orc racial trait to get back into the fight just without one arm. So it was pretty interesting. In this case, I've decided to go ahead and start a completely new campaign. One, to test out the solo rules, and two, because I think the rules presented offer an interesting choice of using companions instead of full on multiple characters. So it'll be testing them, and that seems like a pretty good rule. I like that. Now, I'm not going to, this is not a going into how Forbidden Lands works necessarily, but I will be making my character in accordance with the books. So I will be walking through that. So as we look at the solo rules from Beasts, the Book of Beasts, it talks about how to make your solo adventurer. And as it says here, creating your main player character is done pretty much the same way as normal, with a couple of caveats to make it a little more survivable for the adventurer on the go by himself. All right, so if you're using the standard method of character creation, I'm going to be using the Legends and Adventures book to make it random because I do like point systems. I like being able to pick if I have someone in mind, but I also like systems of being able to generate someone completely random and then running him, figuring out how to run that character based on these random things. I enjoy it a lot. I really like the Traveler um, life path system too. I like those things. Traveler has a good one, and M Space by Frostbite, which is a D100 slash Mithras. It has a really good one in its companion too. Right, so if you're using the life path character generation system found in Legends and Adventures booklet, give them one additional formative event when they are young, and it is advised that you swap out one of your general talents for lucky. I'm not really a big fan of the lucky trait. I understand its role, of course, but I prefer I prefer things to be a little more dangerous. If you're going to get hacked, then you may die. We're going to do this like more like a roguelite game where if your PC dies, that's it. You're dead. And one thing that's interesting, the way that they make the companions, is that the companions are there more as an accessory. They help you instead of necessarily doing things. We'll generate our companion as well. But one of the suggestions, one of the steps, is if your main character dies or something happens to your main character, the companion can then become the new main character. And I like that idea a lot. Whereas you have a big goal in the distance and just a line of heroes falling and dying as they chase the Dark Tower or the Crystal Skull or whatever it is. And when one falls, another comes by to take their place. So that's being said, let's go ahead and start with our character. So as you can see, I am using Roll20. There, there's a great character sheet. I don't think it's as supported as maybe some of the other ones, but Roll20 is what I use. So our first step, we're going to create our character. All right, roll or choose the table for the kin. And I've started a character sheet just so I can use the roles on it. So that first one is a D66 roll. So we're just going to go ahead and roll, see what we get here. All right, 22. Oof, okay, so that those sound effects are lagging behind a little bit, but that's all right. That's all right. So 22 shows us that our character is an Alderlander human. And I'm going to go ahead and start off. I'm gonna pop in and make there's an online name generator. I'm gonna find a nice Alderlander name real quick. All right, so we've got a human. I'm gonna run a dude, but I do kind of like Linux. I'm not sure about Divine Fury, but we'll go with that for now. Just change that name real quick. All right, so our next step all right, roll or choose on the table for your home region. All right, so home region, we'll just use regular die 6 roller here. 6. All right, the Harga Wastes. And then the next step is to roll once on the table for your childhood, for your kin. All right, D6 Childhood Alderlander. Got a 4 there. So Squire. Oh, that's cool. All right, so that gives us our information for the character sheet, our beginning stats. I'm going to go ahead and hit pause. Fill that out. All right, so that's pretty cool. I like to play warriors. I'm a simple guy. So his childhood, he was spent as a squire serving a proud warrior. I went ahead and came up with a name for our proud warrior from the name generator as well. We'll look that back up here shortly. Now the next step, I am correct here. Role region, attributes, write down skills. You got some melee, you got some archery and some endurance, some good warrior type skills. Okay. Roll or choose events for your profession. And then formative events for profession. So those are page 15 and 16. All right, D66 here. 4 and a 6. What's that? A peddler. All right, well, I would not have picked a peddler, but we'll say that maybe he started off really enjoying that, and then he saw what the battle and the wars could do, and he realized that, to put it in Smedley Butler's words, is that war is a racket, and he decided that trade was where it was at. All right. Well, hopefully my microphone has not been acting up for too terribly long. I have a trouble with this thing going to sleep sometimes. All right. Bram Winetender was the hero's name, and Lennox watched his hero, this mighty warrior, die on the field of battle in a pointless, ridiculous fight, and he has decided that that's not the life he wants to live. So his formative his formative trade event was a smuggler. So he made his silver by smuggling contraband between the settlements of the Forbidden Lands instead of trying to enforce them or go to war with them. When one place wanted something, he just learned how to avoid the Blood Mist and how to avoid the Rust Brothers. He's certainly no pacifist, but when someone as powerful as Bram Winetender can get cut down in the prime of his life, he does not want to engage in battle. All right, so our next step, using this, let's see, let's go back up to our okay. Oh, and his talent was Sixth Sense, which makes sense. He's learned to, not be ambushed, learn to avoid those ambushes, which was also very important because he saw his master die. right, so we roll down the talent. Oh yeah, the gear. He got a dagger and a spyglass. Let me write that down real quick. All right, so I noted down his dagger and the spyglass, and spyglass gives him +2 scouting at long range. So that's cool. Now our next step, according to this, is to go on. Let's see. You're now young. You can choose whether you want to start the game as young, or if you want to roll once more for formative events. Let's see. The Book of Beasts suggests to for the solo portion of it. Oops, lost my place here. Oh, I was there. I was right. Now it suggests to go ahead and do the extra formative event when they're young. So we'll do that. We'll see what that extra young formative event is. And then become adult. Young formative event. I should probably hit pause so you don't have to watch me slowly scrolling through this. All right, so we will see what is in store for this formative event. Three. Cheated. Uh-oh. Oh, brother. All right. A trusted companion deceived you and left you destitute. You learned an important lesson the hard way and had to spend a long time rebuilding your life from the rubble. Maybe your old companion is still alive. Okay, so incorruptible, if I remember, that has something to do with not being able to resist people convincing you of things. That makes sense. All right, let me go ahead and note that on there. He was probably cheated by one of his smuggling friends. That would make sense. No honor among thieves, as they say. All right, so I think it's safe to say that our protagonist Lennox is a rather suspicious person. He doesn't trust people who are going to try to ambush him, and he doesn't trust people who are going to try to manipulate him, which makes sense. It's a sad, cruel world. Okay, so our next step then, I guess, is to decide how to meet. That's in this. That's in the Legends and Adventure. Let's hop back over to our solo role play book. Make sure we touch everything there. All right, swap out one of your general talents for lucky. Like I said, I'm not going to do that. Once you have finished creating your character, you can exchange any starting equipment for its listed value, and then using your starting funds to purchase additional equipment. It is highly recommended that you purchase some armor. Probably should do that. If you're playing with a companion, you only start with one relationship to that character. Otherwise, start without any relationships. All right, so I think he will start with a companion, especially if he's going to be traveling in a smuggler. It's always good to have either some kind of apprentice or maybe a bodyguard. It'll give a list here as to what they are, what the best complementary NPCs are, companions are. Um, so let's go ahead and I think I need to decide how much money I started with. Let me go find that. Okay, so actually that part doesn't come till later as I'm going through the checklist. We did that twice, so it's step 8. Now you're an adult. Lower an attribute of your choosing 1 point. You can choose whether you want to start the game as an adult. Old. I'll go ahead and start as an adult. What attribute to lower? Probably strength would make the most sense. But maybe agility. We'll lower agility by 1 point. As he's getting, he got a little older. I decided not against his strength because, you know, if he's a peddler, he's carrying that stuff on his back all the time. So it would make sense that he would, you know, at least keep some of that youthful vim and vigor as he's hauling trinkets and junk all across the the Raven's Purge. All right, lower attribute of choice. All right, you are now old. I don't want to do old. Okay, so we go to, once we do there, we decide to do an adult, go to step 10. You may redistribute 1 attribute point of your choice up to a maximum of 6 in the key attribute. And I think I'll leave things where they're at. Right. So it gave me, let's see, when you do the legends and adventure stuff, it gives you what the skills you are what skills you have learned based on your events, informative events there. Okay, roll once on the how did you meet? All right, so now we also optional, we have pride, dark secret, relationships with other adventurers. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at those, and we start the game with silver and resource dice according to your profession's description in Chapter 2. So let's go take a look at that. So our peddler, all right, a knife, 3 items, whoops, 3 items of your choice from the trade goods list. D12 silver. All right, so he's got a knife already, or no, he's got a dagger. I think the knife is actually for like survival type roles, so I'll throw that in there. Choose from the list of trade goods. Probably pick something expensive, and then as the solo rules suggest, trade that in to get some armor. All right, pride. Honest eyes, make anyone trust you. I think his pride is probably, because he is so suspicious, his pride is going to be no one gets one over on me. I think that's a good one. And then dark secret. Well, I guess it wouldn't be so much of a dark secret that he doesn't trust anyone and think they want to take the silver. But with this character, the dark secret might be more fitting if he's secretly is a good person and wants to see people do well or something like that. Uh, I'll go ahead and hit pause and update the sheet. All right, well, that took a little longer than I was expecting, but basically because he could, as a peddler, he could pick three trade good items. So I got like three magnifying glasses and sold them off to equip him with some armor. He's a little heavily equipped, I guess, for normally what you would expect a peddler to be, but he did have a squire, and he's very suspicious, not, not trusting of people. So I decided that his pride would be no one gets one over on me, and the dark secret is he doesn't trust anybody, not even his companions. As a peddler, he gets D12 silver. I rolled a 1, so I guess he was still recovering from having been uh, taken advantage of and losing all of his riches. But I did get him a light an open helmet and some studded leather for the road. And because of encumbrance issues, I kind of I played around with getting him different weapons, but he was over his encumbrance, and at this point, he doesn't really have a horse. I'm not sure if I plan on him having a horse. I kind of picture him being more, especially as a smuggler. You know, it's if you're gonna try to hide and scout your way around things, then smuggling is then he might choose to go the stealthy route instead of the trying to outrun things route. All right, so that's his gear. That's, I believe, all of his uh, all of his steps. If we take a look over at our uh, legends and adventures, all right, in adult, okay, so I went ahead and did the resource dice. Um, Bought some arrows, but again, he was right at his encumbrance level, so I decided that we'll see what his pal is, his companion. All right, so let's take a look at our suggested companions. We'll go ahead and take a look at our companion now. Excuse me. Main PC is a peddler, a fighter, hunter, or rider. Yeah, it would be good to have a fighter in there, someone to kind of back him up. I think I will trying to decide. It would seem that a hunter might be good for him, someone who's good at picking out secret paths and things like that. But I think I will go ahead and roll on the how did you meet table and let that guide. 4 and a 3. So that puts okay. Hunted by Rust Brothers. All right, now for him that makes sense. He's a uh, smuggler. So something you did was perceived as an insult against Rust or Heem. The Rust brothers didn't take your action kindly and sent the Iron Guard to capture you. In your flight, you found a group of other adventurers in the same plight. Together, you outsmarted your pursuers. Maybe they'll catch on to your scent again. So that's an interesting connection. Doesn't necessarily narrow anything down at this point, but I'll go ahead and cut and paste that into relationship. So I think what I'll do then is I'll randomly generate the companion and adjust if it's something besides one of those three, I'll adjust it to be one of those three. If nothing else, just uh, randomize it. I don't really know champion, but I don't really see him as a smuggler, and frankly, not as someone who doesn't really like warriors. Not that he doesn't like warriors, but he doesn't want to get entangled in fights if he can avoid it. So I'll go ahead and hit pause again and generate the companion. As it discusses the how to generate the companion. So start with one, see how the story progresses. All right, following guidelines will help you focus on the main PC. So our companions, they're generated kind of like characters, but they have no willpower points, can't push their rolls, and they should rarely roll for themselves, instead giving a help die in the situations. So a lot of solo role playing games are like that. If you have minions or a helpers, they're largely narrative in effect. But here's the I kind of like this part, the start of the string of heroes dying in the quest. I mean, I don't want to die in the quest, don't get me wrong, but um, so if he dies, the companion can be upgraded, which I like. All right, so first the motivation. Find out why your companion is traveling with you. Draw a card and consult the table below. Now, I'll be honest, I don't have a problem using cards necessarily for things, but for using the um, for oracles and things like this, especially if you're going to be hopping from one oracle to the other and get some more information from one. Really, I think a dice roll is better. You don't have to worry about shuffling the dice or anything like that, because whenever you either have to pull the card out and shuffle every single time, or the your odds change because there's one less of that particular type of card. I don't know that that's that big of a deal, but it does tend to change the odds of things. Whereas if you just roll the dice, it just seems a little more convenient to me, and I would have preferred that. But we're going to go ahead and use the cards here. All right, so first thing we're going to do is the motivation. Oh, oops, I need to make sure there's no jokers in this deck. Well, I'll just ignore jokers for now. I'll fix that later. Let's shuffle. Oh yeah, in other games I've had that use cards, um, I don't know if the Roll20 shuffle function works very well. But let's see what our card is. Queen of Spades. Black is usually negative for you, but all right, so they seek something which can protect their loved ones. So they seek something that would have to protect their loved ones, and perhaps they think that traveling with him as a peddler, that he is going to be able to get that. that seems to make sense. All right, so we rolled a 2-5 to see what kin he is. An Asleen human. Okay. Oops, okay. I think I actually rolled mine to be an Elderlander human. I think I rolled, yeah, I mismarked my character sheet. Let me update that. And using our Forbidden Lands name generator, Zillimir Riverstone. So I think we're immediately gonna, his nickname is gonna be Zell. And so our next step to create, all right, so I'm going to randomly roll again. And if, let's see, if it, oh, I'll go ahead and go, I'll go ahead and generate this stuff here. But I'm not going to make everyone sit through another character generation. So I'm going to pause it and I will be back when Zell is finished. All right. So we go through our companion creation and I rolled on the Legends and Adventures that he was a hunter, and that matches the mixed or the companion profession for a peddler. So a hunter. So he's Asleen Hunter. He was his event tables indicated that he was had been sent off to do some kind of like a sacred like a vision quest kind of thing, and he had won an archery tournament, and so he's a good shot. He got a longbow, and we're going to get him some. He's going to buy. He's just going to have some leathers, and the companions. These are the last steps that it talks about in the solo in the Book of Beasts. Use a life path system from the Legends and Adventures booklet. Choose their profession rather than roll. Well, I rolled to see which one matched. Don't give them any talents. So they really are there for support. I assume they get the skills and such, so they can help with those. Give them an extra formative event, which I did, and skip steps 11 to 12 in the in this part right here where it's talking about making the correct characters. So you skip the how did you meet because one we determined through the main PC they met fleeing some guards, and roll for dark secrets, pride. They're as companions. We're not really worried about that apparently in this rules. So give your companion one non-combat general talent. I just drew a card, and as you can see on the screen there, it was the Ace of Diamonds, so that's the Wanderer talent. And then finally, at last, with the the final steps for you skip 11 and 12, but you do the 13. You select the resource dice because of the things that he had been given. His archery tournament, he got the longbow, and he has a D12 for arrow for the resources. And he got like 6 silver or something like that. Yeah, he got a short spear from one of his things too. All right. So we have now created the character, a peddler, and his companion, who's a hunter. Um, Lennox, the peddler, and Zelimir, or Zel, the hunter. As we look at our next steps, it will be to actually generate the legend. All right, so this is the getting started part of the solo. How did you meet? We did that. So they are, they fled, and now it says create a legend using the tables in Legends and Adventurers. This should be viewed as the main reason for us setting out now. So somehow we're going to guide it to how Zell somehow thinks Lennox has the ability to find something, and we'll figure it out. Um, Now I think what we're going to do, just as a theme oracle, I'm going to draw two cards because again this system uses cards instead of dice. But we'll draw two cards here, and I'm going to use this themed oracle to. Oh, it's not even showing. Let me get that. Oh yeah, there it is. It is showing. All right, so we're going to draw two cards, and I'm going to use that to determine what the theme is. All right, 10 of diamonds and King of hearts. And this theme, what I'm trying to determine is what Zell thinks you can be helped here. All right, so the 10 of diamonds is consequence, and King of hearts is compassion. Consequence and compassion. All right, well, to be honest, nothing really comes to mind. But it's some kind of compassion at least is in there. So maybe it's something that Zell thinks will maybe help his family, maybe help his people. We'll generate the legend, maybe because it's possible that the legend that will be starting off, that will be the overall goal, could be that it's actually Zell who's driving that. And I'll just point out that there's a which I forgot about, but there's a handy name generator there. I rolled on all the tables to generate our beginning legend. So before the shift, so 11,000 or 1100 plus years ago, there was a vain princess who sought a love because of insanity and traveled to a castle located far away in a forest to the northwest. I actually adjusted the direction a little bit because we're going to be starting from the Harga Wastes, which is at the very south of the map. So I did fudge that one a little bit to match, to give him a good travel. It's going to be a long way because it says that it is far away. The legend says she was possessed, and that at the location is a weapon and greedy undead. Now, I kind of like the idea of the insanity and the possessed because that's probably going to be part of the mystery. You know, did she go insane and was possessed, or maybe she was the insanity and the love, or her being possessed already by something that drew her, some undead lord or something who maybe in his dreams and his scrying had fallen in love with her and used his magic to draw her north. So at the location is a weapon and some greedy undead. All right. We have, I think, drawn this on long enough, and we will begin in our next session. We'll place people on the map, figure out their starting points, and get them going. Still not exactly sure what Zell wants from my character, what he wants from the peddler, but I think he's probably counting on compassion from him. I don't think, because of the beginning legend, I don't think that Zell's what he wants will uh is related to the legend. And in fact, we may not even know. Well, I mean, we don't know, we don't know, but we don't need to know really what exactly Zell wants to start off. Maybe he hasn't even told the peddler. That's probably a good idea. He has not told Lennox that he wants anything at all. He's just kind of following him around, trying to be helpful. He's a hunter. You know, he's trying to play on their shared escape, but he doesn't know that Lennox doesn't trust him anyway. So, but thank you for following along as I stumbled through my first creation, and we will see you next time. Happy gaming.